Cooking with Lana, it's cooking with what you got.
Hey everybody! I don't know about you, but one of the biggest things I miss about being out and about is going to my favorite bakeries and coffee shops and getting some pastries. So I thought it would be fun to make a pretty easy, pretty quick pastry that we all know and love, the scone. So there are a couple of different ways to make scones, but I thought for our ingredients and for accessibility, I'm just going to make cream scones. I've heard butter can be out of stock a lot, but I think people are more often not buying cream. So for this recipe, you'll need flour, sugar, salt, baking powder, vanilla, and heavy whipping cream. And then any add-ins you want. I'm going to go ahead and do a more fruit-based scone, but you could do chocolate chip or cinnamon or anything like that. So yeah, let's get started. So what we're going to need is a cup and a half of flour. This recipe will make about 6 scones. I pared down the recipe so we're using less resources. So in this bowl, I have 1 cup of all-purpose flour and half a cup of whole wheat. You can do all-purpose or all whole wheat. I just wanted to sort of sneak in some whole wheat. So we're just going to put that in there. That's a cup and a half, like I said. And then to that, we're going to add a half tablespoon of baking powder and a half teaspoon of kosher salt. So we're going to dump that in there. And then I just like to use my hands for everything and mix that in. Okay. And then we're going to add 1/8 cup of sugar, and this is just regular sugar, so 1/8 cup of sugar. Just mix that up. Okay. And at this point, this is where I would add any of my fruit. So I have about half a cup of chopped up dried apricots that I'm going to put in, and you could add, like I said, chocolate chips. You could add, dried fruit of any kind, like raisins or currants or goji berries or some handful or two of some frozen blueberries, whatever you have. I'm just going to dump that in there. The reason that I'm adding it at this stage is because this is going to help make it so the fruit doesn't all sit in one spot in the pastry. So there's that. And then you don't have to do this step if you don't have any citrus, but in a fruit scone, citrus is always really nice. So I'm going to zest an orange into here. So for like a blueberry scone, I would do like maybe a lemon, zest a lemon in there. If you were making like maybe a lavender or a rosemary scone, I think some grapefruit zest would be really lovely in there. I got this orange actually walking in my neighborhood. Been secretly grabbing fallen fruits from our neighbor's tree. So this is a foraged orange. Try saying that 3 times fast. Okay. Got all of that. Fantastic. So same thing, kind of just use your fingers and incorporate the zest. So For cream scones, you don't incorporate any butter. So it's all, cream is the only fat. So this is my cream. I went ahead and put in a half teaspoon of vanilla into my cream already. So I'm just gonna start with about 3/4 of a cup and see where that gets me. Again, I'm gonna be using my hands. This is a little bit messy. So you just wanna turn the bowl as you use your hand to incorporate, and make sure you're getting the sides, like you're scraping down all the sides. And it'll start to come together into sort of a shaggy ball. Okay. And definitely don't forget to take it off your fingers. Smells so good from that orange zest. Okay, so maybe just a tiny bit more cream. And the trick with this too is you don't want to overwork it. Just like all other kinds of pastries like this, like pie dough or anything like that, your hands are actually super warm and you don't want to develop too much of the gluten. That's why I'm being very gentle when I'm incorporating this. So that looks good. You see how it's coming off all of the sides, and there's not like a huge dry clump of flour on the bottom. So that looks great. So what I'm going to do is take this flour that I have here, spread it out, and I'm going to dump out my scone dough. I'm going to grab my rolling pin. Okay. So you want to make this into a disc as best you can. It's going to be a little bit crumbly, and that's totally fine. Again, like I said, try to get all that stuff off of your fingers. I know it can want to stick. Okay, so you try your best to get it into a disc, and then I'm just going to take some flour and roll it out. You might need a little bit more to do the top here, but you just want to roll it into like a 3/4 of an inch tall circle. Okay. You also want to have your oven preheated to about 425. And you can have someone line a baking sheet for you. This is a half recipe, so it'll only make 6 scones, like I said. So I'm just gonna make it into a more perfect circle here, and that looks great. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. So I'm gonna cut it in half, and then working with one at a time, gonna imagine what a third would be. That. Okay, same thing on the other side. Okay. Great. So I have all of those. You got the cookie sheet. So at this point, I would say you want to get parchment on your cookie sheet. Okay. They're going to puff up a little bit because they have baking powder in them. So just delicately pick them up. If you have a hard time, you can just use a bench scraper and that helps out. I'll just put them on there. I sort of stagger them a little bit. So you can go on ahead and cook them right away. However, I would recommend taking these and putting them into the freezer for just 15 minutes before you bake them. It really makes it so they're a little bit more tender. Just move some of this out of the way so I can show you. Okay. So now, this is what our scones look like. And what we want to do, actually, is have a little bit more cream, maybe just a couple of tablespoons. And we want to get a pastry brush, and we actually want to brush the tops with more cream. Now, if you were going to put these in the freezer, definitely just put these in the freezer as they are for 15 minutes first. I'm going to bake them right away for the sake of making this a shorter video. So I'm going to brush them with cream and then sprinkle more sugar on top before I put them in the oven. So going ahead and brush the top with cream, and then usually I use a thicker sugar, but I only have regular sugar, so just do a nice little sprinkle right on top of the cream. And then just repeat with the other scones. It's what gives it its sort of brown, glossy finish. So for a lot of pastries, you brush them with different things. So you can brush pastries with cream. Some of them you do an egg wash. It really just depends on the type of shine you're going for. More often with things that are very bready, like a scone or a biscuit, you'll do cream. For things like pie or breads, are mostly egg. When I do the challah, the vegan challah, I'll brush it with aquafaba and maple syrup. That adds a nice shine. But you use different things for different sort of looks or finishes. Okay. So I'm just going to finish these two. And then this is going to go into a 425-degree oven for about 15 minutes, but just keep an eye on it. All right, so while we're waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and clean up. But I hope you enjoyed that video. And if you want to go on ahead and make these with me, next week on Wednesday, I'll be doing a cook-along with the kids. So if you're interested in making scones with me in real time, we can go on ahead and make them together. You'll need, like I said, flour, baking powder, sugar, salt, vanilla, and cream. And then any sort of mix-ins that you want. Maybe take a look in your pantry and see if there's any dried fruits or nuts or seeds or baking chips like a chocolate chip or a butterscotch chip. Anything like that that you want to throw in, and and the heavy cream. And yeah, come on and bake with me next week. And here's your finished scones. Enjoy, you guys. Let me know if you make them or make them with me next week.